I'm seeing this thing where, that poor guy, he just got convicted of like 34 felonies. You can argue about it any way you want and say, I don't see the crime and this and that and that. But it's because you're not a fucking lawyer and you're not paying attention to the way this shit's written. He's a criminal. He's a felon. And I look at it this way. They're going to act like now he might not be convicted as a felon because since then the Supreme Court decided that he gets immunity. Let's look at it this way. You take these people that committed crimes and they say they should let everybody that ever went to prison on something with massive fucking marijuana sales or some shit like that. They're like, now that it's legal, you should let them out because in reality they didn't commit a crime. But when I hear something like that, and you can use this as an argument no matter which side you're on, the way I look at it is these people are not in prison because they had marijuana. They are in prison because there was a law in place, a statute in effect that said you don't do this, and you did it anyway, right in front of their faces. You said, I don't do this, fuck you. I'm committing the crime and I can do the time. And then they get caught and they're like, fuck, I'm doing the time. But it's not about what they had or what they did outside of the fact that they did something against the government at the time, which says something about their turpitude, their moral depravity. They're like saying, and it's the same thing. They always said, I grew up Republican. Well, if they don't want to get arrested, they shouldn't be doing it. That's the whole thing. It leaves out every aspect of like an act utilitarian where you realize sometimes something has to be done and you take into account the circumstances, but now they get rid of it. So, okay. So we're beyond all that now. It's not what I came to talk about. But if you look at the idea that that poor guy committed crimes at the time and had been convicted of them before the Supreme Court ever came in and said, well, he might have been innocent. Too fucking late. I'm not saying to put him in jail. I find an interesting thing here now. What I see happening is that his golf courses, Bedminster and those up in the old colonies, wherever he's got them, I don't know which state it is. I'm not going to visit him anymore. Maybe Mar-a-Lago in the winter, we might have something to talk about. Somewhere in early July. January, I think, is the month I'm living in. Now they're taking away his liquor license. The guy that owns the company, his name has to be the one on the liquor license. And as is such, being that he's a felon, we can still say it. There's nothing alleged about it. It's proven. And until they decide that it's not true anymore, well, we can say a felon off on a technical. It's what they always said about ex-cons. He got out on a technicality. And then he'd go tear up the town and then run his girlfriend into a fucking tree in the car trying to kill her. That kind of guy hanging around Gaylord or D.C. or any of these fine United States. He's got access to the whole place. But they won't allow him to have a liquor license anymore. And I'm like, oh. And he tried to put it in Eric's name, says he's on the license. And the judge looks and says, hey, sorry, buddy. I know you're trying to run a business here, and I know they say what a good businessman you are, but getting away with a lie doesn't make you a good businessman. It's just a businessman at this point. So the guy's like, you can't fucking do it. But they decided to give him a temporary permit until these hearings with Chutkin in D.C. to decide how much of it, because now they're saying, well, if he can't be charged for that, this can't be used over there and shit like that. Way I see it, it makes me wonder, why is it, okay, big deal, the Supreme Court Republicans of these United States, they decide that there's some sort of immunity or something. He can't be charged as a sitting president, something he did as a sitting president. We should remember that, as a sitting president. But you still have to have something to show for it. They should still put it on record, a trial about just the behavior of the situation, so it's out there, and say, okay, you're right, you were wrong. That way other presidents can know. It's almost like a censure, but without the possibility of imprisoning them for it or even fining them. However, being now that they're a felon, all the other laws should permit to them. Can't get his liquor license, because if he gets away with this, basically everything he's doing that the Supreme Court said he can do, it's going to be fucking taken all over the courts for everybody in the world. And what you have to know is, anybody that lives by a morality of deny, deny, deny is just steeped in turpitude. You can't let these knuckleheads get away with it.